And now time to start our Twitter poll with Jed Scordo. Hello, Jed.
Hello there. What would you like to see the Eagles do at the number 10 draft pick? 4 answers that you can choose from: O-line, D-line, Bijan Robinson, or cornerback. Right now, cornerback is in last place at 4%. 13% want to see O-line, 38% want to see the defensive line, and 46% want to see Bijan.
He's winning the poll. Winning the poll.
Winning the poll.
Now, listen, I think that would be insane.
I do, too.
He's a good football player.
Yes, he is.
Maybe he goes on and he becomes a great football player.
Maybe.
But he's a running back.
Yes, he
and
is.
drafting a running back that high, I'm telling you, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Now, I have them all.
Right. Literally, it doesn't make sense. We talked about it yesterday, not making sense, and then you proved it this morning on our prep sheet that it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Now, I'm going to name some of these names, and many of these guys are great football players. And we'll figure out what's in common with all the guys I named. Thomas Jones, LaDainian Tomlinson, wow, Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams, Adrian Peterson, Darren McFadden, C.J. Spiller, Trent Richardson, Todd Gurley, Zeke Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. Now, what do all those guys that I named have in common? They were all picked in the top 10. None of them won a Super Bowl with their original team. One did, since the year 2000. And that was Reggie Bush, who won it in his third year with the Saints. But in total yards, remember he was the receiving, rushing threat. Oh, he was going to be this and that. He averaged 70 yards a game in the 3 playoff games that year. Not 100 and not 150. 70 yards per game he averaged. In 3 playoff games, that Super Bowl run, he had a total of 212 yards.
Hurts
and
had
that's
70.
rushing and receiving.
Hurts had 70 in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was averaging 70 with his original team. And then you have Fournette, who won a Super Bowl, but not with Jacksonville, obviously. He won it with the Bucs as a role player, not as a star. So, since the year 2000, you have 2 Super Bowl wins total, 1 with their real team, 4 appearances in the Super Bowl. So, and only 2 appearances and 1 ring with the original team. Because obviously, if you're drafting him 10th overall, you're not hoping that Bijan wins a Super Bowl with somebody else. You hope he wins a Super Bowl with you. So it's happened 2 appearances and 1 ring with their original team. There is no proof at all that drafting a running back in the top 10 helps you win a Super Bowl.
Knowing the market, too, after the first contract, it's not as if Howie and Jeffrey Lurie are going to be ready to open up the checkbooks and sign him. So you're really looking at a 5-year first-round draft pick. And the reason why I think that's silly is I looked at recent history with the Philadelphia Eagles. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Zach Ertz, Lane Johnson. You look at their tenure here in Philadelphia. BG was drafted in 2010. He's still here. We're talking 13 years later. Zach Ertz made it.
Well, he was a second-round pick.
But I'm just saying, I'm looking for, it's less about where selected, but I'm trying to reboost this defensive line a little bit. Mm-hmm. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, these guys were here for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to use that 10th overall pick to find someone to slot in where we're talking about him still in 2034. I want to see the longevity. Why use a pick just because it's a, quote, luxury pick for a 5-year window if I can draft this high and find someone maybe like that where we're building around him for a long period of time in an Eagles uniform?
In all honesty, I mean, I look at these guys. Now, how many of these teams were good going in? Probably limited number anyways because
that's why they're in the top 10.
If they're at that top 10. The Eagles are already good. So Bijan would be able to break this thing all the way down anyways. I don't think they're taking him. I'm just, for argument's sake, he will be in Super Bowls. If he were to get chosen at 10, he would be in Super Bowls. He probably would win a couple Super Bowls. Because the Eagles, because I feel like the Eagles are going to win a Super Bowl without him.
But can they win a Super Bowl if they get with Bijan? He might get to the Super Bowl, but if they don't get stops, will they win a Super Bowl?
I see where you're going. I think they're going offensive line. I mean, in all honesty, I think they're going Paris Johnson at 10, if they stay at 10.
And 1 year, 2 guys, Ronnie Brown and Cadillac, both went in the top 10.
And Cadillac was terrible.
They combined for less than 10,000 career rushing yards. They made the they each made the postseason combined 3 times in their careers. Combined. Ronnie Brown and Cadillac. 3 times combined. Tomlinson's in the Hall of Fame, never made a Super Bowl. Peterson's a Hall of Famer, never made a Super Bowl. Of the top guys. Ty Gurley was great, 6-year total career, and then was gone. Top 10 pick. Zeke Elliott might be out of the league soon, 7 years in. And when was the last time he was good? Fournette, different team. McCaffrey, maybe he'll get good.
And Leonard Fournette kind of started off a little rough, and he
was
just
terrible.
happened to end up landing with Tom Brady, and that's what helped him secure the dub.
Yeah, became a role player. Saquon. Oh, he's greatest. Yeah, this was the first year he made the playoffs in his whole career.
Last few years have been tough for him.
Yeah, it's hard for
you're
running backs.
absolutely right, though. A lot of them don't even have good, career rushing yards.
No,
and I know what
C.J.
the argument's
Spiller,
going to be. The argument's going to be
Richardson.
in this offense, it doesn't matter what other teams did, and they have a more complete roster, and yada, yada, yada. I still think it would be a waste to pick him at 10. I don't see how you can value that over some of the other options, like beefing up your defensive line or having some flexibility with your offensive line and just grabbing great talent there. And, who knows how long Kelsey's got left in the tank. Juergens is center. You find someone for the right side. There's just so much more you can do than just get obsessed with. I'm telling you, I used this word yesterday, and I'm just stunned that we're here. People look at him as like a mythical creature that nobody can tackle, and it's an automatic slam dunk, where I don't see it that way when you look at the alternatives.
Well, we'll talk about it. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you think he's a good pick, I'm asking you to fight the history, because I went back to the year 2000. So that's a long time. That's not a small sample size. All I'm asking people to do is to say why the history would be different with him consistently. And is he definitely, because I looked at Booney's mock draft on NBCSportsPhilly.com, I'm not 100% sure he's the best running back in this draft for this offense. I'm not 100% sure.
You think Jahir Gibbs, right?
Yep, because he catches the ball better out of the backfield. He had, last year, only 16 less catches than Bijan had in his career out of the backfield. I think Gibbs may be a better fit for this actual offense, because if it was just about running the ball, you'd have kept Sanders. You wanted a guy that can do both. Well, the guy who does both the best that's in this draft is Gibbs. Now, he may not be as good a runner as Bijan, but he's a far better receiver. I think if you do the combination, he's a better fit in this offense, and I definitely don't need to get him. I may be able to get him at 30.
I forget what publication it was, but I was reading something last night talking about Christian McCaffrey, because they were trying to compare why the Eagles would possibly go after McCaffrey in the year that he was drafted, and looking at the Bijan thing, and that was the biggest knock, which is, sure, he can catch the football, but the difference between what McCaffrey brought as a dual threat running and passing is by far superior to Bijan. So that might be what holds Bijan back, is he's not the same threat in the passing game, which would obviously intrigue Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson.
And
Well,
but in the NFL period, you need to be able to catch the ball. I'm kind of with you guys on this. I think you look at Gibbs. I mean, he's a guy that can catch the ball. That's what you want out of your backfield, especially with the way you play action here. I think that's only a bonus.
And after all, we're in this town, between Shady and Westbrook, you had receivers that you could straight put in the slot and run proper routes. So then when that guy goes in motion, they're definitely afraid. Because like, is he going to stop? Is it going to be an end around? Is he going to actually go to the slot? Linebackers couldn't cover those guys. And it was a matchup nightmare. Now imagine adding that to this offense. So it's not that I'm against adding a running back. I'm against adding a running back with the 10th overall pick. Now, if you tell me that apparently there's a lot of stuff going around, like where, the Brady Quinn stuff, there's always a quarterback who gets knocked. It was Aaron Rodgers one year where they tear you down, even though you did nothing wrong, and then you drop. Apparently, C.J. Stroud is that guy. There's a chance now that at 10, he's available, and someone makes the phone call to draft him with the Eagles, and the Eagles only have to drop to maybe 12, 13, somewhere in there. And then they add another second-round pick or whatever. Now, the further you drop, the more comfortable I now am with Bijan. At 15, I'm more comfortable. At 20, I'm extremely comfortable. There is a spot in which I would take him, but I think in the top 10 would just be beyond foolish.
I co-sign that. I feel the same exact way. I'm trying to look at the value of that pick, and I want to look longer term at 10. You're telling me we pick 10 with this roster? See, I don't think this is where you go out of the box because it's a, quote, luxury. I think you stay true to who you are, and you continue to build this thing long term. Don't get cute. Don't try and get creative, right? All the same people that wanted Howie to do the basic standard stuff is now asking him to get out of his comfort zone. I say stay with what's gotten you here over the last couple of years. Stay to your bread and butter and just keep building within with long-term success in mind. And that's what they should do.
Stick to what you know. I think, you know, Hunter, you're absolutely right. Might have been the brightest thing you've said on this show all year. And the reason why I say that is, think about this for a second. You could put anybody in this backfield right now. If those guys up front in the trenches, the Howie trenches, are making the blocks, I mean, it makes it kind of easy on their backs, doesn't it?
Yeah, 610-632-0975. We'll open the phones on the other side. Anthony and Jamar will get to you first here on 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports, Philadelphia. Go back to the phones. Marty in Harrisburg. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hello, Marty.
Hi, how are you?
All right, how are you?
First-time caller, listen to the show all the time.
Thank you.
My question is, you're going back to the year 2000 and picking running backs, right?
Yeah, 2000 to now. It wasn't like I stopped in
To now.
2000. Yeah.
Right, 2000 to now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be. I think I know my sports. When in the year 2000 and maybe to 2005, 2006, the running backs were the first ones picked. Is that correct?
No.
What?
No.
What? They weren't the first ones picked?
No. There was a total in 2001. There was one taken in the top 10. 2000 and 2001. There was none taken in 2002, 3, or 4 in the top 10. None in 2009. None in 2011. None in 13 or 14. No. Running backs do. Yeah.
All right. But I'm
You have to go
also
further
saying,
back than that to when running backs were getting taken in the top 10 all the time.
Okay.
And only 1 year in the last 23 did 2 get taken in the top 10. And that was just 2005.
My fault on that. But the running backs that were taken, like Reggie Bush and the other guys that were taken, how were those teams ready to win?
Well, in the Saints' case, they were. Tomlinson's team was ready to win. They never won.
All right, because I'm saying the Eagles pretty much have everything, and you're talking
but they
about,
don't.
So you think they're running back away. So judging from the last Super Bowl.
I think they're running back away, and I think they're probably a lineman and a cornerback away.
Oh,
So
you
why
said lineman.
wouldn't you draft the lineman in the corner and get the running back later in that scenario?
You could do that, but I'm like I say, I was going with what Hunter said. Just real quick, I was going with what Hunter said. Hunter said something about drafting. You drafted these offensive linemen, like Johnson, whatever, 13 years. Different guys, 13 years. How many Super Bowls have they won?
They all have a Super Bowl, which is
One,
more
yeah.
than 0.
Yeah. And when did you win that Super Bowl? 3 years ago?
They
4
won
years
in
ago?
2018.
Okay.
So with
2018.
that,
You were
by
also-
the time they
you
were
also-
drafted, maybe Bijan might not be here if that's the case, because he's not going to get a second contract.
Oh.
So it's hard to win, yeah, for sure. So if you're going to have a player for a longer period of time, they have a better chance of winning that Super Bowl.
Also, they all have 2 appearances, these guys. Again, the running backs from 2000 to 2022, we haven't had the 2023 draft yet. You're talking about a total of 4 Super Bowl appearances. Total. 4 between all of those guys. Lane Johnson has 2 by himself. Kelsey has 2 by himself. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, they all have 2 by themselves. Thanks for the call. I'm saying the math isn't mathing. I'm saying none of those guys were in the league for 22 years. And all of them have twice, like, if you just add up any 2 of those guys, they have the same number of all the running backs. Again, 2 Super Bowl wins, 1 with the team that actually drafted them, 4 total appearances, 2 of the appearances out of 4 with their original team. In addition, you had Gurley, Reggie Bush. Yeah.
Look how quickly Gurley fell off, too.
Right. He only had a 6-year career total. 5 years with the Rams, 1 with Atlanta, out of the league. 6 years total. And he was Offensive Player of the Year. He was great. Tomlinson. I'm not saying it's his fault. San Diego. All those yards. He's a Hall of Famer. You can make an argument. If you want to say he's a top 3 back, I'd say fine.
Ever, yeah.
Never made the Super Bowl.
And what this is really proving is that the running back does not win you Super Bowls.
Correct.
Right.
But a defensive line can.
An offensive line can,
An
too.
offensive line can as well.
I knew we were going to get that today, though, because we even got tweets that tweeted all of us and the station's account saying all these teams weren't ready to win a Super Bowl. This team has a roster.
They were never ready. So let's say they weren't ready the rookie year. They were never ready during their whole careers.
And if they're that talented, if they should put you in a position then. I'm saying if these are can't-miss, unreal elite talent, which some of them are, like LT, there are some, but at that point, if they're not their rookie year, at some point along the journey, you should blossom into one of those teams because that's how special of a talent they are.
Well, you go back as far as the Detroit Lions when they had Barry Sanders. I mean, how good was he? And they won nothing.
Well, nothing. But I'm not even trying to go because they'll say Emmitt.
I know.
Emmitt did win. So when I'm looking at it, I'm saying Tomlinson, his team went in with the bye. With the bye. At some point, they were good enough. Why didn't they win? At some point, they had a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame running back and one squat. I'm just saying, what's the reasoning? Everybody's basing it on, are they really thinking just draft them for this year?
No.
You can't just draft for 1 year.
With the number 10 pick.
You can't just draft for 1 year. When you say they weren't ready to win, that means they weren't ready to win as a rookie. That doesn't mean that like, their whole career. The Cowboys have had a bye since Zeke was there. And what did it get them? Well, the Cowboys. You know what it got them. You know what it got them.
It's funny thinking about with the Derrick Henry rumors of last weekend. When I was thinking about it over the weekend, I was like, man, it's such a Howie Roseman thing to do to figure out a way to get Derrick Henry to the Eagles and not take Bijan at 10. That's a Howie Roseman thing to do.
Now we're talking. I'm not against getting a good running back.
Right.
Good running backs matter. It's about where you get them.
Exactly.
Is the key. Where you get them. One of these dudes won a Super Bowl with their original team since the year 2000. And we know that was Drew Brees' team. That wasn't Reggie Bush's team.
Right.
That was Drew Brees' team. Like, we know why they won. Not that Reggie Bush didn't contribute at all, but he's not the main reason they win. The quarterback's why. The offensive and defensive lines are why. And they also had the whole city and karma. That Super Bowl. Saints, that was a perfect storm of stuff that absolutely helped them there. But look at the Cowboys. The Eagles were looking up at the Cowboys doing some of these Zeke Elliott years. Forget winning, hasn't made a Super Bowl.
When I hear the name Reggie Bush, I just think of Sheldon Brown.
Well, yeah, but the Saints did win that game.
Yeah, they did.
That was Jeff Garcia.
Dude, that hit.
Oh, Jeff Garcia.
Outrageous.
In that game.
Jeff Garcia.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, you got Hall of Fame like Peterson. He had 2,000 yards in a year 1 year. Never made the Super Bowl. 2,000 yards. And you're not telling me Bijan's going to be 2,000 yards. And you can't just base it on they're ready now. Okay, let's say there's a scenario in which Lane and Kelsey both retire. And you have Kelsey's replacement in Jurgens, but you don't have your right tackle, to my knowledge, on the roster. You could draft one this year, maybe. Maybe you want Paris Johnson, for example, and you think he's going to be your right tackle in the future. You can't just base it on 1 year because you're always an injury away. That's how football works. You're always an injury away. If Hurts was like this same Hurts injury happens this year, but later, maybe this doesn't happen. You don't know.
I also don't know how many carries someone like that will get when there's so much with this offense. Jalen's going to keep it with the read option at times. A.J. Brown needs to get his reception. Same with Devontae and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
Kenneth Gainwell will be flirted in there. They're going to throw some other guys. Boston Scott against the Giants is an automatic if you want to hit your sports books and, hit the anytime touchdown numbers. Every time. It's ridiculous.
And you guys all feel like he's a workload guy.
Well, I think that's what fans think.
Well,
No, I think he could be.
No. I'm just saying. I think he would have to be like if you're going to pick him at 10, you
To
want that
justify
guy.
it.
Yes, you
Yeah,
want him to be a workload guy.
Yeah, to justify the pick. That's what I'm saying. And Bijan might go on to make the Hall of Fame. The question is, will he win? Will he win? Because I'm in win mode. I'm not going back. I'm in win mode. I'm not doing what we did last time after they won the Super Bowl and everybody let the foot off the gas and was just chilling. Oh, we got it. No, I'm obsessed with winning Super Bowls now. I care if he's going to help him win, not if his stats are going to look good. Just about winning. Jamar in Philly as we go back to the phones. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Jamar?
Yeah, I just want to say that. So if you take Bijan at 15, 20 or whatever, you're saying he's not. It's like you're saying that he's not going to be the same player if you was to take him at 10.
No, what I'm saying is you would get additional picks to help build out your roster.
Exactly.
So now I know I'm going to draft more defensive linemen, corners, offensive linemen, et cetera, because by moving down, I now have more picks than I currently have.
Stoutland can turn a lot of these offensive linemen into pro.
Not in the, no. He turned one by himself. The rest were all awesome. Lane, your center and your right tackle. He was awesome before.
He was 6th round.
Yes, and he was awesome. What I'm saying is he was awesome before Stoutland, and so was Lane Johnson. Dickerson was a first-round talent that just was injured. Mailata is all Stoutland.
And say what you want about O-line, but what if it's D-line?
Driscoll's not a star player. He's not a star. He's not a starter.
But he started for us last year.
No, he had started for you 2 years ago.
No, he started a couple games last year.
Well, he's a spot starter. He can hang in for a week or two, but if you're going to run with it for the full length, it's different.
I listened to Bro's media thing on YouTube.
Appreciate
you were saying that we should trade up to try to get Jalen Carter.
Yes, that makes sense.
But why would you trade up to get a guy that, for his own pro day, didn't work out?
He's the best because he's the most talented player in the draft.
I don't see the talent in that guy. I see the talent.
Well, see,
I'm not going to say
football.
See, Jamal, this is where you hurt yourself, Jamal, a little bit. Now, you want to question his work ethic, character, do that. He's the most talented player in the draft. His film, his regular film, according to pro scouts, his regular film looks like highlight videos. His regular film, like this was just third down in the first quarter. They think these are edits. He's the most talented player in the draft.
Well, I don't see it because he couldn't start over Jordan Davis and all the Trayvon Walker and none of the money guys.
Talk about all these other first-round picks. There is seniority in college. Oh, he didn't start over a guy who went 8th last year when he was a year younger. What do you mean? Think about what you're saying.
If you talented, you start.
No,
over.
you don't. No, not at Georgia. Georgia's got guys. A guy just transferred to USC from Georgia who played in the had a sack in the national championship game. He transferred because they said they didn't let him play on rundowns enough. He only played on pass downs because they're so loaded. So he transferred to USC so he can show he'd be an every down player. They are loaded there. Thanks for the call. I'm just saying they are loaded at Georgia. It's different down there. Their third stringers are first-round picks.
Yep.
This kid from USC eventually is going to be probably a first-round pick. And he transferred because they only let him be a third-down specialist.
Because they're that good.
Because they're that good. Like, no. Like, just like quarterbacks when they transfer. If you have the equivalent, if you have behind C.J. Stroud and Young, you know what you did? You transferred because you weren't going to play. Does that mean you stink? Or were those guys just ahead of you on the depth chart so you went somewhere to play? Let's go back to the phones. Jim in Middletown talking about the Eagles draft plans. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Good afternoon, everyone. How you guys doing?
All right, how are you?
Good, thank you. I have a question, okay? Howie doesn't trade out because he can't trade out at number 10. The question I have to all
real fast, Jim. Are you saying if he can't?
He can't. Nobody wants to trade with him.
Okay.
So just a scenario.
Mm-hmm.
We have to pick at number 10 because
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to do business with him.
Mm-hmm.
So Carter and Anderson are gone. My question to you guys, who is your pick?
Van Ness for me.
That's my pick as well, Van Ness.
You're out of your minds.
Why?
The guy, listen, these guys,
well, who's your
he
pick,
picked
Jim?
last year. For sure it's going to be the running back. For sure, because I want the best player out there at that point. And this guy's a possible Pro Bowler, and you're going to pick a guy that didn't start at Iowa, right? Howie's horrible. 3 guys last year that were picked in the draft didn't even play. Now, I'm not going to say that they can't be good this
So
year.
you're saying Cam Jurgens can't play because Jason Kelsey was in front of him? Is that what you're suggesting?
Jordan Davis is not.
He had a high ankle sprain. He got hurt. He also was learning a new position.
Is not Hargrave. You're going to see that.
He's not going to get double-digit sacks.
Right, he's a different player.
He's not going to.
But you're making a mistake, Jim. You don't draft for just 1 year. You're making a mistake of.
Also, you're making the mistake of saying running backs throughout the history. Forget first-round pick running backs.
I say
right?
top 10 picks. I didn't say first-round picks. I say top 10.
Super Bowl. You're saying every team that won a Super Bowl
didn't have a top 10.
Didn't contribute the whole year.
No, I didn't say that.
Getting there.
No,
like
I didn't say
Sanders
that.
Did.
I didn't say that. I said
wait a second.
what I said was none of them
team.
except one picked that running back in the top 10. It's not about having a good running back. It's how you get it. For example, you agree that there's multiple ways to buy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, it is not. You're dead wrong.
So
every running back
Jim,
that was in the Super Bowl won a Super Bowl, right?
Jim, do you agree that it's a 53-man roster? Do we agree there?
Well, of course it is.
Okay,
yes.
stop. Do you agree that there are 22 starters, 11 on offense, 11 on defense? Do you agree with that?
That's correct. And
right. The reason that it matters how you acquire them is that if you draft your starting defensive end at 10 and get your running back in the second or third round, you see, you were able to allocate your roster better. You allocate your roster.
He has to pick a 10.
Lucas Van Ness.
I say Paris Johnson.
Okay, so you want Van Ness, right? So he's going to have a bigger impact for the Eagles than
in the first year, maybe not. He'll be in the rotation the first year. Over 5 years, I think so. Over 5 years, I think so.
He's a bum. Howie drafts bums.
How is that possible? How is it all bums when we're having the success that we're having? He had a bad time there with the draft, and it's been better
since. He did draft Hurts.
Yeah, he did.
He did draft Devontae Smith.
Yes, he did. Landon Dickerson's amazing.
My lot is his too.
And by the way,
so he drafted 3 of the 4 because
Goddard.
I'm talking about of the offensive line.
Of O-line.
He drafted the left tackle, the left guard. He didn't draft the center. He didn't draft because that was Andy.
Yeah.
Right tackle was Chip Kelly. The right guard this coming year will be Jurgens, who he drafted, or another player in this draft who he drafts. Like, he drafted the quarterback. He drafted one of the receivers. He drafted the tight end. He drafted Gainwell, who's currently at least at worst number 2 on the depth chart at running back, likely number 1. He acquired Boston Scott, who was an undrafted player. Like, they're not all bums. Like, they literally aren't. The new starting linebacker, he drafted him last year. Nakobe Dean. Davis, who's going to start a tackle, he drafted him. Because you don't just draft for 1 year. Not just 1 year. You want win-now players. You want guys that can play right away. But you also want guys who will play over the long haul. And drafts, one last thing before we go to break, are about projections. Projections. So while college production is good, NFL production is better. So you're projecting. If that's the case, you just pick the number. Matt Leinart was awesome in the NFL. He won a damn Heisman. Couldn't play in the NFL.
He stunk in the NFL.
Right. It's projection. 610-632-0975. We'll keep all of this going because the passion is real in this city as we approach the draft here on 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia.